wasn't a huge success. It was as somebody said, it was a collective of great short films that collectively weren't that successful. But you know, it was the first feature. I mean, it was tough actually doing the first feature that wasn't successful, going to Cannes, and then trying to get all the introductions, and then finding that the film didn't really work. I think that was the hardest part. I mean, as one producer said, you know, success has many parents and failure's an orphan, and it really does. You know, that was probably one of the most, you know, it's probably one of the things I got most out of user friendly. I don't mean that in a cruel way, but just, you know, it's very, very hard to make a good film. You have to have everything lined up. And I think, in retrospect, you know, we didn't quite have everything lined up. This was Brad McGann's short film. He called me up one day and then said, look, I'm going to send it was in the days of faxes, I'm going to fax you a script, and out popped Possum, 13 pages, and it was a very individual story. And, you know, it was so well written. We didn't even need to change anything. I mean, I think we changed, it was just slightly too long for the short film, the NZFC short film program. So we cut it back a little bit and tweaked it here and there, but effectively it was a beautifully written piece. The film went around the world. It won quite a few prizes and was invited to a number of festivals. And one festival it was invited to was a disabled or disability festival, which autism was regarded as potentially as a disability. And it got sort of, I don't know why they chose it, but Brad said he got a lot of, not flack, but a little bit of, you know, there was a bit of, he thought the film was taking advantage of autistic people. In My Father's Den, I don't know why, I mean, it sort of connected with me. It wasn't heralded as one of Morris's great pieces, and I think it was the third novel that he'd written, but I showed it to Brad. Brad sort of slightly discounted it to begin with. Then he came back after having a dream about the story, so it actually must have affected him some way. And so we embarked on quite a reasonably long development period of about 5 years. And it was in the days when the NZFC's big initiative was feel-good comedy. And we were making this dark piece, you know, set in central Otago about a young girl who disappeared and was eventually found murdered. So it was actually against the tide of what were they trying to get out of NZFC. The production schedule had a deadline of September. We had to start on September the 8th because we had to shoot the winter scenes before the blossom came out in central Otago. And we had 1 week, pretty much. I mean, it's not, I mean, you know, this was the average date that we could start to get a week of shooting before there was prominent blossom around the place. So we actually started shooting before we were financed. We got the film to open at the Sydney Film Festival. It opened Sydney Film Festival to fantastic reviews. We came back to, the week we came back from Sydney, Brad was diagnosed with cancer of the liver, which was tragic, bittersweet. You know, it was really bittersweet. You know, from all those highs, after the prolonged period of developing and making a film, to, you know, to have that result, very tragic. Well, the challenge was to get the adaptation, the script right. That took a long time. I mean, that took quite a while, and we went through. It had some problems with having the girl going missing and then getting to the ending for the main character, for the Anthony Starr character. which we didn't quite nail. It's a tough story. Probably as a creative piece, it should have been made earlier. I think we just sort of made it a little bit too late. And I think in terms of an art house film, I think there was, it was released in 2010. I think there was a number of things, and timing had part of it, something to do with it at least. It was written by a Dutchman who had recently immigrated down to New Zealand, been living in New Zealand for 5 or 6 years. And I read the script, and it had, I could see that it had potential. It needed more work. It had a Dutch point of view of Maori culture, and needed a Maori writer to come in to look at the material. It was difficult on the creative side because I think I should have been a lot more forthright in terms of from the New Zealand perspective, but it was very much an English. It was very much an English production that David Burns, produced. I mean, the whole thing about co-productions is that you do have to let go something. You develop a project to a certain point, and then you find a co-production partner. And finding that co-production partner, you do have to let go and embrace that co-production partner and allow them to have some involvement. And I think that was the big problem with Trevor. It's how you actually how you sustain a business model, or how to continue being a producer, funding films in a digital era. I think that's the big challenge, because piracy is a big problem. People going to cinema in terms of seeing audiences going to cinema, in terms of seeing art house films, it's pretty tough out there. They're not going. Distributors are not picking up your films, are not paying an advance fee, and it's in a readjustment. It would be like when video came in. But I think the readjustment is quite massive. It needs, I don't know where it will end.